Michelle Loves Books. Welcome back to my channel. Today is time for 7 on Sundays. The topic for today is books that make you angry. Whether it's a book that you hate or is clearly a book with aspects that you feel with passionate anger. Any books that make you angry count. The first one that has to go on this list is a book called Of Mice and Men. I read this so many years ago. I really did not like it at all. The only thing I really just didn't like about it that I could not get past was how the big guy kept like killing the mice in his pocket. And I understand, like, you know, he couldn't help it and stuff like that, but I just really didn't like that book.
Okay, I don't want to interrupt your video, but are you talking about Of Mice and Men?
Yes, I am.
We need to, one of these days, you need to make a video, husband versus the wife, one book review, because I'm going to tell you exactly why. And why John Steinbeck was such a great American author, and why Lenny was the way that he is. And if you don't understand why Lenny killed him, then you don't understand culture. And the whole book and the principle at that time, what Lenny was.
Yeah, I was actually thinking if you wanted to be part of it, I would do a vlog where I read that book again. We could potentially do that. The second book on this list is The Catcher in the Rye. I thought that book was so boring and so pointless and so pretentious. Why it makes me angry is because it is so hyped up as one of the great American novels that you have to read. And I don't get why. I mean, I understand that he's like this angsty teen who grows up rich and, you know, privileged, and he doesn't understand how fortunate he is. But I guess there are certain things that seemed a little bit too unrealistic to me. Like how this teenager wound up getting the attention. I forgot exactly how it went, but he managed to get the attention of an older woman. I also think that maybe my gender is the reason why I just can't get into it, because I think it's definitely geared towards young men versus young women. But again, I just thought it was ridiculously boring. The third book on this list is Hush Hush, which I actually have a copy of this. I originally listened to this whole set on audiobook because I was like, there's no way that this can be that bad. However, I decided to get a copy because I just like want, like, don't judge, but like I want to hate read it. Like I really want to like analyze what it was about her character that I just did not like. I think it was mostly the main character who was just so annoying and stupid. And I really did not understand the love interest, and I've heard a lot of people talk about how they love Patch, and I'm like, why? So I kind of just want to read it again. I don't know. The fourth book on this list is The Cruel Prince, and I know that this one is very beloved. I think I didn't like it for almost the exact same reason. I really hated the main character, the Fey world that they had set up for her, where humans were so condemned for being human that there's absolutely no way she would have risen, and they would have allowed her to like be part of their little militia or whatever. And then she, like, I just feel like it also just fast forwarded through everything, and we didn't really get a chance to digest anything. Again, I listened to this book on audiobook. There was no way I was going to go back and reread this book, except that the next two books in the series everyone is talking about. I just want to read this one in the physical format just because I feel like maybe I missed something. I did read this last year and we had just moved into the house. I was painting. It's possible that I wasn't giving it 100% of my attention. I'm really curious, like, what happens in the second and third book. There are some booktubers whose opinions that I really value, and they just can't stop raving about it. So I think I need to go back and give it another try. The fifth book, okay. The fifth book on this list is called Girl Made of Stars. I hated this book so much. I actually DNF'd it. And I have a detailed talk of why I hated it so much in a wrap-up video that I did for the month that I read it in. I don't remember what video that was. If I can find it, I might link it below. So I won't go into that much detail here. But this book is basically, it's a really short book, and it's about these girls who are in high school that deal with a sexual assault issue. I think it's really important because this is actually between a couple. They have been a couple for quite a long time. They have had sex before, but in this case they were at a party. I think that she had been drinking, and she said, or they both had been drinking, and she said that she didn't want to do it again. Things happened and she wasn't really comfortable with what had happened. So it's kind of a weird gray area issue, and I think this issue is actually very important. But this case blows up into a rape case. What I hated about this book is that I feel like in general, it changed from just telling the story of these two teenagers into almost making a public statement, the way it was delivered. This is a really powerful and important topic that I believe that teens need to learn about before going into mature and intimate relationships. Not that I believe that books have a duty to teach people how to be decent or whatever, like books in no way need to be politically correct or anything like that. But again, just because of the way it was delivered, it seemed like that was a goal of the book, is to give a public statement. And I felt that that statement was toxic. It definitely aired way too heavily on the bashing of men or boys and making all men out to be perverted rapists. Making it kind of like you should be cautious of anyone because they're a man or a boy. I mean, if you are a girl, including the principal of their school. I can appreciate that this book was trying to cover all of the angles of this very difficult topic that has so many different scenarios that can change the meaning of it or change the intensity of it. I just think that it's such a complex thing, you can't wrap it up in under 200 pages. I believe this book might have been about 250 pages, but this is just too important and too complex of a topic to cover everything in 200 pages, you know? There were a lot of times that this book was really cheesy, too convenient. It felt really like those cheesy mock skits that they show teens in sex ed class. It kept repeatedly drilling in the idea that nobody ever believes the girl. It just made me so mad that I DNF'd this book. So, because I didn't finish it, it is possible that as the book goes on, it changes its tune, but I don't care. Moving on to the sixth book on this list, and that is Precious. My mistake. The book is called Push. The movie was called Precious. I read this a really long time ago. Again, it was like a train wreck that you just can't look away from, but you don't want to see it. I was disgusted with what happened to that girl. If you haven't read it, it goes into every single detail of the sexual, mental, and physical abuse that this girl Precious goes through. By her parents, no less. It was too horrible, so I did finish it, but it is a story that will regrettably never leave me. I know that it is important that we are aware of these kinds of situations that people definitely do go through in the real world. Actually, I believe this was based on a true story. Or it is her true story, it's like a memoir. So I get that it's really important. We need to know that these things happen behind closed doors and we can't help young women like that. But also, this stuff sticks with you and that sucks too. The last book on this list is, I'm kind of right in the middle of reading right now, and I wouldn't say that it's really like a book that I hate or that makes me particularly passionate, but I don't have that many books that I really hate. So this one made the cut. It's about these two Lithuanian girls that get caught up into sex trafficking. Is it sex trafficking or what does they call it? Trafficking? Anyways, they're caught up into prostitution and they wind up in the hospital after a particularly terrible beating from their pimp. So I guess after that's the part I'm at right now. But I guess they're gonna decide that they have had enough. They're going to eventually seek their freedom and revenge. Mostly I'm just not really enjoying the chapters that aren't specifically about them. A couple other perspectives that we're following, and one of them's from a drug addict who just got out of jail. He like keeps overdosing and winding up in the hospital. And then the other one is from this other guy who's an addict as well, and they just like go into extreme detail on how they light up their smack and everything, and it's so gross. I don't like it. It makes me feel I don't like it. It's just disgusting. I don't like seeing people hurting themselves and killing themselves that way. There is this chapter where the nurse that works at the hospital of the guy that just got out of prison. So there's a guy that got out of prison. He goes in for another treatment because he overdosed, and you hear from the nurse's perspective. She said that like she used to care about these people. When she continues to see them in and out of the hospital, like they just don't care. She just quit caring about them. And I thought that was really cool that they added her chapter in there, because she's just tired of like wasting her time on them when her time could be going to help people who actually really want to get better. So I really liked that part. But yeah, again, for the most part, I really like, it makes me angry, people who you know, continue to hurt themselves with drugs and stuff like that. And I really don't like the details going into how they light up and all that stuff. So that's my 7 books that I hate. And I hope that you enjoyed this. See you later. Bye.